by design. Dexter's delicious. Double Dexter. Dexter's a final cut. And then Dexter's dead. I had read these before. I didn't get all the way to the ending of the series, but I believe I had gotten in like Dexter in the Dark, but I didn't start on the first one. I'm gonna start on the second one and then probably go back to the first one because I faintly remember what's going on in it. Okay, like I said, I'm gonna start on the second one. Dearly devoted Dexter. I guess you guys can see that. Some of the highlights that are probably not the same that are in the show. Well, I hope some of you have watched the show. The show's good. You guys can see the cat right there. Just probably put the lid down or whatever. Anywho, so whenever we're starting to read this, we gotta remember in the first book, Lagerta is already dead. Sergeant Dokes is still on the hunt. So Lagerta dies before Sergeant Dokes. On the show, it's completely different. It's completely the opposite. But, so, I'm gonna just begin where I left off. I don't know how much I'm gonna read, but I'm gonna read this and then I might pick up in the future and read a couple of more pages. I just want to get you guys involved in the reading process and to understand how good these books really are because I really enjoy them a lot. So I'm gonna start on page 38 and Dearly Devoted Dexter. And as a bonus, I had become quite fond of her children, Aster and Cody. Strange, perhaps, but nonetheless true, I assure you. If everyone else in the world were to mysteriously disappear, I would feel irritated about it only because there would be no one to make me donuts. But children are interesting to me, and in fact, I like them. Rita's two kids had been through a traumatic early childhood, and maybe because I had too, I felt a special attachment to them and interest that went beyond maintaining my disguise with Rita. See, when you read a book, you get inside the character on the show. We kind of understand that, but this gives it confirmation. Aside from the bonus of her children, Rita herself was quite presentable. She had short and neat blonde hair, a trim and athletic body, and she seldom said things that were outright stupid. I could go in public with her and know that we looked like an appropriately matched human pair, which was really the whole point. People even said we were an attractive couple, although I was never sure what that meant. I suppose Rita found me attractive somehow, although her track record with men didn't make that too flattering. Still, it's always nice to be around somebody who thinks I am wonderful. It confirms my low opinion of people. I looked at the clock on my desk. 5:32. Within the next 15 minutes, Rita would be home from her job at Fairchild Title Agency, where she did something very complicated involving fractions of percentage points. By the time I got to her house, she should be there. I love this book. With a cheerful synthetic smile, I headed out the door, waved to Dokes, and drove over to Rita's modest South Miami house. Dokes is stalking Dexter. This is like in the show. So now we're in this book, we're getting a clearer view of how Sergeant Dokes really I followed her into the relatively cool of the living room. Have a seat, she said. I'm just gonna freshen up a little bit. She smiled at me. The kids are out back, but I'm sure they'll be all over you when they find out you're here. And she switched off down the hall, returning a moment later with a can of beer. I'll be right back, she said, and went away to her bedroom at the back of the house. I sat on the sofa and looked at the beer in my hand. I am not a drinker. Really, drinking is not a recommended habit for predators. It slows the reflexes, dulls the perceptions, and knits up the raveled sleeve of care, which always sounded to me like a very bad thing. But here I was, a demon on vacation, attempting the ultimate sacrifice by giving up my powers and becoming human. And so a beer was just the thing for dysophobic Dexter. I took a sip. The taste was bitter, and then, just as I would be if I had to keep the dark passenger buckled into his seatbelt for very long. Still, I suppose beer is an acquired taste. I took another sip. I could feel it gurgle all the way down and splash into my stomach, and it occurred to me that with all the excitement and frustration of the day, I hadn't eaten lunch. But what the hell? It was just a light beer, or as the can proudly proclaimed, light beer. I like to eat beer. I suppose we should be very grateful they hadn't thought of a cuter way to spell beer. I took a big sip. It wasn't that bad when you got used to it. By golly, it really was relaxing. I, at any rate, felt more relaxed with each swig. Another refreshing sip. I can remember that it had tasted this good when I tried it in college. Of course, I was just a boy then, not the manly, mature, hard-working, upright citizen I was now. I tilted the can, but nothing came out. So, I read a couple of pages to you. That was from